Did you know the Milky Way has a tiny neighbor called the Canis Major dwarf galaxy? For centuries, it's been home to a powerful governing body known as the Galaxy Consortium. Imagine a massive council hall with 25,000 members, all organized in a strict hierarchy. In the very center, on a raised stage, sit the most important members. Behind them, in slightly lower tiers, are the semi-important figures. And way up high near the ceiling are the least influential members. It's a true power pyramid. So what if you wanted to join this exclusive club? Well, you'd have to formally petition the council. You'd need to present your case, detailing exactly what you bring to the table: resources, unique contributions, anything that makes you a valuable asset. After that, all you can do is wait for their decision. What do you think it takes to get accepted? So you think you've got what it takes to join the Galactic Council. Getting accepted is just the first step. After that, you're summoned to stand before them and state your case. Here's the catch. You don't ask what the council can do for you. You tell them what you can do for them. This is where you pay your dues, and what you offer determines everything. We're talking military might. Rare minerals from distant galaxies, groundbreaking technology. The council will listen, and then you wait. Again, if they accept you, your rank is based entirely on your contribution. Bring a war fleet, you're a major player. Bring a handful of space dust, you'll be seated at the very top of the Grand Chamber, basically ranked non-existent. From there, you will have to prove your worth over who knows how long, just to get a real seat at the table. Good luck, you'll need it. Humanity finally did it. We broke free from the Milky Way, something most advanced species chose not to do. But us? We have this unquenchable thirst for the unknown, this insatiable need to see what lies beyond our cosmic backyard. Our destination was the Canis Major Galactic Consortium, a name whispered across star systems. We dreamt of visiting, maybe even joining their esteemed council. So we sent a proposal, a digital handshake across the void, and then we waited. For months, the silence was deafening. Just when we thought all was lost, an invitation arrived. It was real. Humanity had a seat at the table. We chose our best, Ambassador Tim Stevens, to represent us all. His mission, to step onto the galactic stage and show them who we are. The journey across the void between galaxies took months. Enough time for Tim to pore over every rule and regulation of the Galactic Consortium. He was determined that humanity would be ready, that he would be ready to represent them. Finally, their delegation ship sliced through the atmosphere of the consortium's home world. A massive space station hung in orbit above the planet's north pole, a gleaming jewel in the blackness. This was it. As their ship docked and they disembarked, the air was thick with anticipation. But something was wrong. Consortium guards blocked their path. "You are to remain here," one stated, its voice flat. The human ambassador stepped forward, confusion turning to anger. "We are an official delegation," he protested. The guards were unmoved. "The consortium orders you to stay." As the ambassador's face reddened, his assistant gently placed a hand on his forearm, a silent plea for calm. Something was very, very wrong. It seemed to work. Just then, the ambassador looked at his delegation and ordered them back onto the ship. They were leaving. The delegation was stunned, but followed his orders. The consortium guards relayed the ambassador's command to the council. This was an extreme act of disrespect, an insult they had never experienced from any species before. The council members were furious and ordered their guards to stop the humans at all costs. The guards acknowledged the orders and began to force their way into the human delegation's ship. Inside, the delegation started running down the corridor as their own shipboard guards charged forward, engaging the station guards in a desperate fight. But more and more station guards arrived, quickly overrunning the ship's defenders. The last of our guards fell defending the bridge. We barely made it inside, the ambassador screaming to barricade the door. Outside, we could hear them, the station guards, trying to smash their way in. The ambassador grabbed the captain, demanding he send a distress call. It was a long shot, a desperate plea cast into the void. The message would take months, maybe years, to even reach the edge of our galaxy, hoping an Earthship would stumble upon it. As the first heavy thuds echoed against the bridge door, the captain keyed in the message and hit send. Then he turned to engineering. Full power to the engines now. We're getting out of here. Our only chance was to break free and run, to buy enough time for that sliver of hope to find its way home. This is Ambassador Kalen of the Terran vessel, the Voyager. We are under attack. The engineering department attempted a breakaway from the station's moorings, but it was a trap. Alarms are screaming, not just here, but across the entire station. They knew we would try to run. Automated tugs swarmed us, holding us in their grip like a vice. Then the attacks began. They didn't just hold us. They targeted our engines, crippling us completely. We are now dead in space, a sitting duck. Even as I speak, station guards are trying to breach the bridge. This message is being broadcast on all frequencies, a final testament to what has happened here. We may not survive this day. They will either imprison us or worse. But let this recording be our legacy. Let the galaxy, let humanity, know what was done to us here. Do not let our sacrifice be in vain. The guards weren't about to give up. They quickly realized they were up against a sealed blast door and decided on a more direct approach. They began planting their explosives, but the squad leader took one look and barked for more. Why? One of the guards asked, confused. Because it's a blast door. The leader shot back. Get more explosives now. They didn't argue. More charges were brought and carefully set. The moment came. With a deafening roar, the door blew inward. The resulting pressure wave inside the bridge was devastating, instantly killing the captain and most of the crew. The few survivors were too injured to even move, let alone fight back. The guards stormed in, wasting no time. They started dragging the survivors out into the corridor, while the bodies of the fallen were unceremoniously dumped alongside them. The last of the survivors were dragged from the wreckage, their broken bodies left in a heap on the cold metal deck of the space station. Burns, puncture wounds, shattered bones. It was a gallery of suffering. The head guard stared down at them, a sneer twisting his lips. He saw only weakness, a frailty that disgusted him. In his eyes, these humans didn't deserve to exist. He activated his comms, his voice dripping with contempt. Council, we have them, the last of the humans. On the other end, he could hear the barely suppressed glee. Excellent, a voice crackled back. Bring them to the Grand Hall, now. The transmission cut, but not before the sound of 1,000 voices, erupting in a triumphant roar, echoed through the comms. Down in the Grand Hall, the celebration was just beginning. The humans were dragged into the council chambers, barely alive. Charred, broken, and whimpering, they were dropped onto the cold floor. The council members held photos of the ambassadorial delegation, trying to match the images to the shattered bodies before them. It was impossible to tell who was who. Guards moved in, forcing the survivors onto their knees. Some screamed as broken bones gave way, a few passing out from the sheer agony. Others were limp, their heads drooping lifelessly. A guard reached out, grabbing one of the drooping heads to force it up. As they did, the scorched skin simply peeled away, revealing the horrifying extent of their injuries. The air grew heavy, thick with the silence that followed the sickening sound. A wave of shock and revulsion washed over the chamber as the true brutality of the attack was laid bare for all to witness. The council chamber fell silent. You could literally hear the sharp intakes of breath from across the room. After a moment that stretched into an eternity, one of the council members finally managed to ask what had happened. The head guard explained, his voice matter of fact, that the humans were hiding behind a blast door. So they blew up the door. He added, almost as an afterthought, that they hadn't anticipated just how fragile these creatures were. The council waved a dismissive hand, and the guards dragged the broken humans off the floor, throwing them into what passed for jail cells. As the council looked down, they saw the blood and pieces of skin left behind on the polished floor. They ordered it cleaned up and simply continued with their galactic business, leaving the humans to languish in their cells, consumed by pain and agony. The months crawled by. We started as 20, barely clinging to life. Now there are only 11 of us. 9 couldn't hold on, their wounds festering without care or kindness. The guards just left them, right there in their cells. The rest of us, we're slowly getting back on our feet, becoming more aware. But the confusion, it's a constant fog. A few have lost their short-term memory, asking the same questions over and over. Where are we? What happened? We explain it all, multiple times a day, while nursing our own injuries. They feed us scraps, whatever the council members don't finish. Yesterday, we lost another one. He ate something from their version of a fish, a poison sac they never warned us about. The guards just laughed. They laughed as he died, and then they left him there, just like the others. We have to remember, we have to survive this. Even with his skull exposed, a grim testament to his torture, the ambassador was alive. Barely, but alive. A fire burned within him, a determination fiercer than the pain that racked his body. He would not give them the satisfaction of his death. He would survive, and he would make them pay for every atrocity. Months crawled by in the dim light of the cell. Strength returned, drop by agonizing drop. Soon the ambassador could stand, a skeletal figure of pure defiance. Each day the guards would swagger in, their laughter echoing as they tossed scraps of garbage onto the floor. And each day the humans ate. They ate the refuse, fueling their bodies and their shared hope for rescue. They had to stay alive. The ambassador, a symbol of their unbroken spirit, stared back at his captors, his gaze a promise of the reckoning to come. Months passed in captivity. Most of our wounds had scarred over, but the damage was permanent. One of my men had an arm bent into the shape of a banana. Several others now walked with a limp that would never leave them. My own skull had hardened strangely. Skin had tried to grow back over the exposed bone, but patches of white still showed through. One day, the guards stormed in. They didn't bother with the others. They came straight for me. They grabbed me, dragging me away from my people down the cold stone hallways. We reached the grand hall, and they threw me onto the floor. I gasped for air, pushing myself up, forcing my body to stand as straight and tall as I could. I would not show weakness. Before the council, I stood defiant. Why? One of them hissed. Why do you resist? No one has the right to be so defiant. The ambassador smirked. He looked at the council and simply said, that is to be human. Our entire civilization's evolution is built on defiance. We survived planetary disasters, beasts that hunted us, and thousands of years of our own wars. You think what you saw a few months ago was defiant? You haven't seen anything yet. You've only met a few dozen of us. We are a species of over 1 trillion, and they are all just like me, or worse. But you'll find out soon enough. One of the council members laughed. And how will you puny humans find out? A black hole could swallow you. A micrometeor could tear through your ship. Your engines could fail, and you'd drift to your death. Pirates could capture and sell you. The ambassador's smirk only widened. They will never know. The ambassador smirked and said, yes, they will. Before your guards decided to blow up the bridge, I was able to send out a message to Earth. The council member laughed, then said, or no, we intercepted that message, videoing the second the bridge blew up. No, we got that one. The ambassador laughed and said, No, you fool. The one before that one. Yes, that's right. I was able to send an actual message. They would have gotten it a month ago. Right now, they are planning and researching what their options are. The council member said they will never spend resources to rescue any of you. The ambassador replied, Then you don't know humans. There is an old saying humans have, leave no man behind. On Earth, there are many government bodies, but they'll all unite for this. You've just made the biggest mistake of your existence. Let me tell you about the United States, where I'm from. We have a history. Once one of our people has been taken, we will move heaven and earth itself to get that person back. You also don't know our military. For thousands of years, we have focused on one thing, how to be the best at war. Now you will have the full concentration of that focused rage, that drive to make war, all on yourselves. The council no longer wanted to hear what the ambassador had to say. They wanted him to stay on his knees and grovel for his life, but it never worked out that way. He was defiant the entire time. The guards dragged him back to his cell and tossed him in. After that, he was so exhausted, he passed out for a couple of days. But the seeds of fear had been planted. When I finally came to, a sharp pain shot through my head. What happened? One of my staff, Sally, rushed to my side. Her face was pale. They don't know what you said to them, sir, but they're trying to break us. They want secrets about Earth. I sat up, wincing. Who are they torturing? Sally's voice trembled. Jackson. They took Jackson. I couldn't believe it. Why him? He's just a kid. He doesn't know anything. She just shook her head. They said it was to send a message. Because he was the smallest. Defiance is futile. A grim chuckle escaped my lips. They haven't seen anything yet. I struggled to my feet and yelled at the guards. Take me. A cell door creaked open. A guard stepped in and slammed his fist into my gut. My turn, I guess. The ambassador crumpled to his knees, gasping for air as if his lungs were on fire. Just then, the heavy cell door creaked open, and Jackson was dragged in, his body lifeless. They tossed him onto the cold stone floor like a sack of potatoes. Through the bars, I could see the guards muttering, their voices low and conspiratorial. After a moment, a grim understanding passed between them. One guard strode purposefully to the ambassador's cell, unlocked it, and roughly grabbed the collapsed man. Together, they dragged him away, his shoes scraping against the floor, and disappeared down the dark corridor. I turned my attention back to Jackson, who was now curled in a fetal position, each breath a ragged gasp. I knelt down. How are you doing? He managed a weak smirk. That's a dumb question, Sally. I just got my butt kicked. How do you think I'm doing? I fell silent, just watching him. Finally, he struggled to sit up, his eyes scanning the empty space. He looked at me, a new urgency in his voice. Where's the ambassador? Where's Tom? Another assistant whispered that the guards had taken him. Jackson started to panic. No, they can't do that. Sally tried to calm him down, asking why. Jackson said he overheard them. They were talking about torturing someone to the breaking point, just to see what happens. Everyone gasped, their own fears suddenly feeling very real. Was that what was going to happen to all of them? They huddled in their cells as the hours dragged on. Tom was gone, and the silence was deafening. Then, finally, the guards returned, dragging Tom's limp body back to his cell. They just dropped him on the floor. You could hear his ragged breaths, but he wasn't moving. Blood was pooling beneath him. We all knew he didn't have much time. We couldn't keep this up much longer. This had to end. For a month, a strange quiet settled over us. The council, our tormentors, seemed to have found a new distraction, leading us to mend in our cells. We needed rescue, or we would die. Then one morning, chaos erupted. Alarms blared, and the guttural shouts of guards echoed through the corridors. We were terrified, completely in the dark. I finally managed to grab the attention of a guard who'd shown us a sliver of kindness before. He gave us a grim look and said an unidentified fleet had just jumped into the system. Hope, a dangerous, fragile thing, sparked within us. It could be Earth, or it could be their enemies. Either way, this chaos was our chance. Most of us were partially healed, but the ambassador could barely walk. He looked at us, his eyes filled with a fierce resolve, and said, "If you get a chance to escape, you take it, no matter what." I turned to him and asked, "What about you?" He just looked at us, his expression firm. "If you have to leave me, then do it. The most important thing is getting out of here, getting back to Earth. You have to report what happened." His gaze swept across our faces. "I'll do what I can to distract the guards. You remember where our ship is, right?" We all nodded grimly. "Good. Find her, break free, and get out of here." I had to interrupt. "But the engines are gone." A small smile touched his lips. "No," he said. "The ship is alive. The AI is repairing her as we speak. She has automated drones. She's getting ready to fly. That's why it's a delegation ship. She can repair herself. Plus, we have spare parts in 2 of the cargo holds." Hope surged through me. She was alive. This scene just completely blew everyone's mind. Jackson actually sat up straight and said, "So that's why. That's why we never had an escort." The ambassador just smiled and replied, "Exactly. No supply ships, no warships." He explained that the plan was to appear as a low-threat target, to just slip by completely unnoticed. Our ship might look like a clunky old cargo hauler on the outside, but on the inside, it was pure elegance. Suddenly, it all made sense. We remembered how embarrassing it felt when we first boarded, especially seeing the sleek, advanced ships from other species. But the ambassador, he was always so proud of our old vessel. Every time he looked at it, his eyes filled with pride. Just then, the entire space station lurched violently. The lights flickered on and off. We all looked up, then at each other in confusion. The ambassador's voice cut through the tension. "Get ready. Get ready for what?" We were still trying to figure that out. The station started shaking nonstop. Lights flickered wildly, then everything went black. Suddenly, the doors to our cells just popped open. We all froze, looking at the open doors, then back at each other in the darkness. We could just make out the ambassador struggling to his feet. He screamed, "This is it! Get up! Start moving!" He began dragging himself out of his cell as the sounds of gunfire and yelling echoed from somewhere else in the station. Jackson yelled out, "Is this us? Are we being rescued?" The ambassador just shouted back, "Shut up and move. It doesn't matter if it's an attack or a rescue. This is our chance. We have to get to the ship." We scrambled out of our cells, helping those who could barely walk. The ambassador was one of them, but he waved off any help, ordering everyone to get going. We didn't want to leave him, but he outranked us all. "I'll be right behind you," he yelled. We pushed through the door into the corridor and were shocked to find no guards. They must have run towards the chaos. The ambassador stumbled out behind us, pointing down the hall. "Turn left, away from the noise." As we rushed ahead, he fell far behind, using the wall to pull himself forward, one painful step at a time. Up ahead, we saw a stairwell on the right. He told them to take the stairwell up 3 decks, turn left, and follow the corridor down to Dock 12. "That's where our ship is." They all hesitated, looking back at the ambassador, who was barely standing. Then he yelled at everyone to move. They scrambled up the stairs as the ambassador shouted up to them, ordering them to fire up the engines and get the ship ready to leave. They finally reached the 3rd deck and turned left, racing towards Dock 12. By the time they made it to the ship, the ambassador was only on the second level. The ship's XO was the only one who could prep for takeoff, but he needed help. He pointed at a couple of people and told them to get to engineering immediately and fire up the power core to full strength. Time was running out. What happens next? They asked how, and he simply said I will assist you. Just ask for Roger. They exchanged confused glances, one of them clearly amused by the name. The XO cut in. We don't have time to explain. Just get down there. They nodded and hurried off towards engineering. Meanwhile, the ambassador finally reached the third deck, his footsteps echoing down the long corridor. Suddenly, he heard a sound behind him, a soft hissing, punctuated by metallic steps. He didn't dare look back. His only thought was reaching his ship. Then a mechanical voice boomed. Stop! Exhausted and in pain, the ambassador knew he couldn't outrun it. He stopped. A hulking mechanical figure appeared, a red beam scanning him from its helmet. Ambassador, the voice stated. He could only nod. We are here to rescue you, it continued. But it seems you've already handled that. Are you the only survivor? With a ragged breath, he shook his head. No, he gasped. The rest are on my ship. They're prepping it right now. Good. Let's go. In what felt like the blink of an eye, we arrived at Dock 12. We raced down the bridge and onto the ship. The bodies of the ship's guards were still scattered on the floor, exactly where they had fallen. But we need to get to the bridge. It refused. You need to get to medical, it insisted. I refused right back, demanding to go to the bridge. After a tense moment, it finally agreed. I pointed the way, and we headed for the bridge. As the group reached the bridge, a wave of relief washed over them. There was the ambassador safe. But their joy quickly turned to fear. A massive shadowy figure was carrying him. This being gently placed the ambassador into a chair, then its gaze swept across the crew. Who's in charge here? It asked, its voice a low rumble. The XO tentatively raised his hand. What's the status of this ship? We need to go now, the being demanded. The XO explained that engineering was working to bring the power core to full strength. The being nodded once, then seemed to speak to someone unseen. Fall back to Dock 12. We have the survivors. We're leaving. Go ahead and blow it. Its attention snapped back to the stunned crew on the bridge. Well, what are you all waiting for? Let's get this crate moving. Just then, the entire station rocked with a violent tremor, shaking the ambassador's ship to its core. The AI's voice cut through the chaos, announcing the power core was online and surging at full strength. Everyone, sit down and hold on. The XO shouted, trying to maintain order. The mechanical being simply said, Hold. He then turned his head slightly, speaking to someone unseen. Get a move on. The ship is leaving. Turning back to the XO, he commanded, Don't move until they are on board. With that, he strode off the bridge. Sally, refusing to be left in the dark, chased after him down the corridor. Who are you? She demanded, but he never broke his stride. Reaching the ship's hatch, he paused just long enough to tell her, Stay inside and take cover. He then stepped out, crouching against the wall, weapon raised and aimed down the corridor, ready for whatever was coming. The chaos was deafening. We could hear weapons fire peppering the hull, mixed with the sounds of screaming and small explosions just outside. Then 13 more of them stormed onto the ship, these strange mechanical beings. The first one, their leader I guess, slammed his fist on the hatch control, sealing us inside. He turned to Roger and just yelled, Get us out of here. Roger didn't hesitate. With a lurch, the ship broke free from its moorings, and we were finally adrift. A few of the beings headed down to engineering, while the rest marched straight for the bridge. Sally, brave as ever, was right on their heels, demanding to know who they were and what they wanted. One of them finally stopped and looked at her. "We are here to help you," it said, its voice surprisingly calm. "Now, will you let us do that? We're taking you back to the Milky Way. Back home?" It didn't seem possible. They finally burst onto the bridge, and everyone screamed. The XO yelled, "Oh God, they've multiplied." We all stood there, looking at each other in confusion, and glancing up and down at our own bodies. Just then, two more figures from engineering stumbled in. The XO's eyes widened. "More? How many more of you are there?" Finally, the original mechanical being stepped forward. It slowly raised an arm, pointing a metallic finger at the main view screen, which showed a star field. "Go," it commanded. The XO didn't hesitate. He scrambled to the helm and engaged the engines. The ship groaned, tugging against its moorings, once, twice, and then with a final jolt, we were free. A collective sigh of relief washed over the bridge as our ship pulled away from the station. We were finally on our way. The ship shuddered as it began pulling away from the station. The mechanical figure turned to the XO, its voice a synthesized rasp. "This isn't some leisurely evening cruise under a pale moonlight. We are escaping a hostile environment. Punch it." The XO, wide-eyed, just nodded and slammed the ship's throttle to its absolute limit. The vessel lurched forward, throwing everyone against the restraints. Another mechanical figure strode to the navigation console, its metallic fingers flying across the keypad, entering new coordinates. The ship's AI protested, its voice echoing in the cockpit. "Warning, new course plots dangerously close to a neutron star." But the figure ignored it, relentlessly inputting the commands until the AI finally complied. New course accepted. Everyone exchanged uneasy glances. Then the mechanical figures turned in unison towards the ambassador and the other wounded. "You all need to get to medical," they chimed. "Let's go." The ambassador tried to refuse, but the lead mechanical figure that carried him aboard stepped forward. "You need to regenerate now. You're no good to us in this shape." Its voice was surprisingly calm. "Let's go to medical." The ambassador looked down, nodding his head, a mix of defeat and profound relief. The XO set the AI's navigation and allowed the mechanical beings to guide the injured to the medical bay. Once inside, it was a truly wondrous sight, filled with the most advanced medical technology imaginable. There were regeneration beds, mechanical surgical beds, and sophisticated scanning beds. One by one, the injured were laid onto the scanners to precisely determine their injuries. The AI then analyzed the data and suggested the optimal course of treatment. After that, they were transferred to the next bed to begin their recovery. Everyone wanted the ambassador to go first. He was by far the most severely injured among us. But he just shook his head, his voice raspy but firm. "No," he ordered, "the less injured go first. Get them back in the fight." The mechanical being, our rescuer, tilted its head. "Logical," it chimed. Faster rotation through the medbeds. We all agreed, and the treatment began. Later, once the immediate threat was gone, and we were safely away from the council station, a strange thing happened. Our rescuers began removing their helmets. One by one, they revealed their faces. They were human. Humans saved us. The ambassador managed a weak smile. "They got my message," he whispered. The rescue team leader stepped forward, his own smile grim but proud. "Yes, sir. Earth Command got your message. We're Delta Force, the advanced team. Welcome home." Pretty much everyone was treated, though a few had to go into surgery to repair their injuries. The rest of us made our way to the bridge just as the ship's alarms blared, warning us about an approaching neutron star. That's when the leader of the rescue team walked over to the navigation computer. He calmly punched in a new course correction, setting our destination for a nearby nebula. As the ship veered onto its new path, we knew it'd take about an hour to arrive. For the first time, We all just sat down and took a deep breath, finally feeling safe, knowing we weren't being chased anymore. Then Sally asked, "Where's the fleet?" The rescue leader looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" he asked. Sally explained she'd overheard the guards talking about a fleet outside the station. He just smirked and said, "Oh, that was a decoy. We paid some pirates to create a distraction while we launched our ship in the chaos. That's how we managed to get you out of there. They had absolutely no idea we were even in the system." Sally then chimed in, "But they'll figure out it was humanity that rescued us, won't they?" The leader just shook his head. "No," he said. "We blew up our own ship. We fully intended to take the ambassador's vessel, so we planted explosives on our transport." He paused for a moment. "The second we located you, I gave the order. Right now, that space station is in chaos. It's probably breaking apart, falling into the planet's atmosphere, burning up, or crashing down. They've got their hands full." Just then, the ship's AI announced our approach to the nebula. The leader walked over to the console and started punching in a new set of coordinates. We were heading somewhere else entirely. Our ship sliced through the cosmic dust, diving deeper into the heart of the nebula. The view from the bridge was breathtaking. Swirls of incandescent purple and crimson gas danced around us. For minutes, we twisted and turned, our pilot expertly correcting our course through the stellar labyrinth. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the dense clouds parted. We had entered a vast, open pocket deep within the nebula's core. My jaw dropped. It wasn't empty. An entire fleet of ships, dark and silent, hung suspended in the void before us. What ... What are all these ships?" I stammered, turning to the rescue mission leader. A sly smirk crept across his face as he looked out at the silent armada. "That," he said, his voice low and thrilling, "is the Ghost Fleet, and now it's time for us to join them. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe for the next chapter. Phantom Static, where the phantoms speak through the static."